Yeah, sounds good.
Oh. Peah, they do not reap with sickles, and they do not uproot with spades, lest they strike one another. Three times in the day, in the morning, at midway, and at Mincha, Rabbi Mincha time, Rabbi Gamliel says this stated this is a minimum. Rabbi Kiva says this stated this is a minimum. A Beit Nama would elect by the rope, and they give payah from each furrow. If a non-Jew reaped his field, and afterwards he converted, he is exempt from leket, from shikacha, and from payah. Rabbi Yehuda obligates him regarding shikacha, for shikacha is only at the time of the im. Okay.
All right, Zion. Just keep my bookmark in place there. Um, right, ha, um, Hekdesh. Hektish kama upada kama. So we've seen this concept many
Uh,
times because the same Mishnah actually appears in several places. Actually, Mishnah Ches is the one that appears in many different places. In, at any rate, it's if somebody is sanctified their field, in other words, basically donated it to the temple,
all
um,
right.
and then decided that they want to redeem it, which you can do by paying the value plus an additional fifth. Okay, um, so that is if he was makdish standing grain and he was poor standing grain, it's still chayiv in all of the matanos. Um, Omarin Upada Omarin, if it was already bundled and sheaved and then he donated it to the temple, it's still chayiv. Because okay, it was we'll see it at the end of the Mishnah. Kama Upada Omarin, so um if he donated it when it was standing grain, and then under the Gizbar sent messengers and started harvesting it, and then the guy said, you know what, I want to redeem it. Now it's patur. Why? Shebishas chovasa haisa patur. Because at the time that the chiyuv of Peah was chal, the field was patur because it belonged to the temple at the time that it was harvested. So once he redeems it, it remains in its state of patur.
Okay.
Similarly, the same thing applies when it comes to the timing of Trumas and Masras, because once again, it's only personal produce that is chayiv in Trumas and Masras, but if it belongs to the temple, there's no chiyuv. So if he was makdish the fruit before it had ripened enough to be chayiv in Trumas and Masras, then it is then it, and he redeemed it at the same stage, it's still chayav. Mishabala onas masras, if he sanctified it after it had already reached the stage of chumas and masras, and then redeemed it, they're still chayav. Hikdishan ad shelo nigbru, okay, he was makdish the fruit before it was chayav in chumas and masras, and then he left it on the tree for a month or while it was ripening, and now it's fully ripe, and uh, you probably want to use an example of something that's not attached to the ground, um, that's actually because it's got to actually become chayav in Trumas and Mashas. So forget about fruit on the tree, but let's talk about grain.
Right.
So, so if you was makdish the grain before it was brought into the storehouse and had the what's it called, the miruach hakri, the smoothing of the heaps. The smoothing of
Uh-huh.
the heaps is that's the moment when things become chayav in Trumas and Masras. So if that happened while it was in possession of the temple, then it will be pater, and that's the last phrase of it here. Hiktishan ad shelo nigbru, Gemara Hagizbar, v'achar kach pedan, and then afterwards he redeemed it. They're pater. Shebishas chobasan hayu peturin. Okay, the Mirach Hakri was done by the Gizbar, and therefore there's no Chumas and Masras. Okay. Tes, mi shelakat es peah v'amar hare zo ish ploni ani. Okay, so here you've got a regular guy, not an ani, but he's got a friend who's an ani, and he sees a big sign saying that, oh look, this field is open for aniyim, and gosh, there's hardly anybody here. Let me quickly go in chapara and take some matana so I can give them to my friend the ani.
Right.
I'm a nice guy, right? Okay. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Zachalo. He says, yeah, that's legitimate. Um, V'chachamim omrim yitanena le'ani shenimtza rishon. Nope, nope, you cannot do that. Now, um, why? If he was an ani himself, he would be allowed to do that. Okay. Um, so an ani is allowed to go in and be zoche in all of the things for himself. And migo, we have a migo. Say, look, if he wanted to, he could have just taken it for himself, but instead he's taken it for his friend. So that's legitimate, and everyone agrees that that's okay. When you have a guy who's not an ani, um, and he comes into the field. So Rabbi Eliezer says, look, he's got another migo over here. He could say if he wanted to, he could be mafkir all of his possessions, which would make him into an ani, and then he'd be allowed to take. And since he could do that, then we say okay, so let him be kone for another ani in the same way, which is really a double migor. So he could have given away his positions, and if he wanted to, then he could be zocher for himself, but he didn't. But he didn't, and therefore he's going to get for his friend. And Chachamim say, sorry, you can't do that. You can only do one migor. You can't do two. Um, לעונש שנמצא ראשון. הלקט והשיחה והפאה של... Okay, so then we do a context switch over here. We're no longer talking about specifically, being zoche for on behalf of an ani, but we say הלקט והשיחה והפאה של נוכרי חי במאסרוס אלא אם כן הפקר. The normal case is that if a Jew leaves over leket, shicha, and peah, he doesn't. Then the ani who collects them does not have to give trumas and masters of them. Okay.
Right.
If a goy wants to be nice and he decides that he's going to follow the minhag hamakom and leave over leket, shicha, and peah, and the aniyim come and they take, it's still chayav in trumas and masters, because really what that is, it is basically it's a gift from the nochri to him. Now,
Mm.
this over here is talking from the perspective of Rabbi Meir, because now remember, Rabbi Meir is the Tana who doesn't hold by Heter Mechira. Okay, he says that if a goy owns a piece of land in Eretz Yisrael and he farms it, you got to give Trumas and Masters on it, and it's still chayav in Shemitah. So he's going to say, like, what's this Heter Mechira rubbish? It's Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't matter who owns it. It's Eretz Yisrael, and therefore all the produce that grows from it is chayav in Trumas and Masters, and is chayav in Shvius. Um, so whereas the Chachamim who disagree with him would say, well, look, if the Nokri owns the land, this is the produce itself is not chayav in Trumas and Masras. So Rabbi Meir looks at this situation and says, look, we've got if the Nochri wants to give gifts to the poor, that's great, but the poor still have to give Trumas and Masras on it. Okay, unless the Nochri made it hefker, not just for the poor, but hefker that even Ashirim could come and take if they wanted. Then it moves into the status of hefker produce, which is pater from Chumas and Masros. By the way, there was actually something in the commentary that it's possible to say that this is not specifically Rabbi Meir, but it was an agreed upon chumrah, like basically a din d'Rabbanan on the produce of the Nochri who left over leket, shech, and peah, in order that people would be aware. Let's just see what did he say, what was the reasoning. Is the enemy in Torah? מדבר סופרים תפוס הגוי חייבס במאסרס וכן שנינו midrabanan. Okay, it's so not as a not giving any particular reason, but it could be that there's a Tana's opinion that actually, even though a non-Jew does not have a non-Jew has the power to remove the kedusha of the produce in
Right.
Eretz Yisrael, but midrabanan, we should still take trumas and masters from it. Um, and therefore the aniyim would still have to take trumas and masros from any shicha that or leket and peah that he leaves over. Okay,
Okay.
are we good? Okay,
Um,
all right. Aleph Hal.
okay. Among trees, the sumac, the carobs, the nuts, and the almonds, the vines, the pomegranates, the olives, and the palms are subject to payah. One always gives payah and is exempt from the maestris until it is evened. And he may give it as hefker and is exempt from the maestris until it is evened. And he may feed cattle and wild animals and birds and is exempt from maestris until it is evened. And he may take from the granary and he may sow it and is exempt from maestris until it is evened. So says Rabbi Kiva. If a priest and a Levite purchase a threshing floor, the maestris are theirs until it is even. If a person consecrates and redeems, he is liable to maestris until the treasurer evens. And these form a division regarding the payah, the brook and the channel, the private way and the public way, the public path and the private path that is permanent for the sunny season or for the rainy season, and the uncultivated and the plowed field and another seed. And if a person reaps with fodder, it forms a division. So so says Reb Meir, and the commentator does not form a division unless it is plowed.
Okay.
Okay. I oh, okay. Dalid Kes. Agali and Sadushi said, I have a complaint against you. Perushim, for you write the name of the ruler together with the name of Moses in a bill of divorce. Perushim say, we have a complaint against you, Gali and Sadushi, because you write the name of the ruler together with the name of God in one column. Moreover, you write the name of the ruler above and the name of God below, as it says, and Paro said, who is Hashem that I should heed his voice to within that Israel? And when he was smitten, what did he say? Hashem is the righteous one.
Adron Allah, Maseches Yadayim. Okay, okay.
And we have anything that is a yad, but not a shomer, contracts tuma and conveys tuma. But does not combine. A shomer, even if it is not a yad, contracts tuma, conveys tuma, and combines. Anything that is not a shomer and is not a yad, neither contracts tuma nor conveys tuma. The roots of garlic, onion, and leek, when they are moist, and the protrusion, whether it is moist or dry, and the stalk that is directly opposite the food, the roots of lettuce, round radish, and oblong radish. These are the words of a mayor. Yehuda says the large root of the radish combines, but its fibrous root does not combine. The roots of mint and rue and the field greens and garden greens that one uprooted in order to transplant them, and the spine of an ear of grain, and the grains covering. Rabbi Eliezer says also the dust covering. These contract tuma and convey tuma and combine.
Okay. Okay, Mikvas. Besvav.
Okay. Base 5. If one moved mud to the sides and 3 lugim of water drained out of it, it is valid. However, if he removed it and 3 lugim drained out of it, it is invalid. But Reb Shimon declares it valid because he had no intention to draw the water. If one placed jars on a roof to dry them out and they filled with rainwater, Reb Eliezer says if it is a rainy season or if there's a small amount of water in the pit, he can break the jars. Otherwise, he cannot break them. And Rabbi Yeshua says in any case, he can either break them or tilt them, but he may not pour out the water. If a plasterer forgot his pot in a cistern and it filled with water, when the water flows over it, even a little, he can break it. Otherwise, he cannot break it. So says Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Yeshua says, in either case, he can break it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, base say. If there was a chatos bird over here and an ola bird over there and an undesignated pair in the middle, and then there flew from the middle pair to the two sides, one bird to this side, one bird to that side, nothing is lost. Rather, he should say, this bird just went to the chatos should be a chatos, and that bird just went to the olio should be an ola. If a pair of birds then return to the center, those must be in the center must be left to die. These which remain in the position of the katos should be offered as a katos, and these which remain in the position of olo shall be offered as an olo. If a pair of birds repeated and flew from the center pair to each of the side groups, then all of them must be left to die. One may not bring turtle doves to be paired with young pigeons, or young pigeons to be paired with turtle doves. How is this? A woman who first brought her katos offering with a turtle dove and then brought her ola offering with a young pigeon must repeat and bring her ola with a turtle dove. If she first brought her Ola offering with a turtle dove and then brought her Kathasis offering with a young pigeon, she must repeat and bring her Ola offering with a young pigeon. And Azza says, we follow the species of the first offering. A woman who brought a Kathasis offering after childbirth and then died, the heirs must bring her Ola offering forward. They must bring her Ola offering afterward. And if, however, she brought her Ola offering and then died, the heirs do not bring the Kathasis offering afterward. In what cases are the previous things said? With a Kohen who inquires, but with a Kohen who does not inquire, if there was one pair of obligatory birds for this woman and one pair for that one, or two pairs for this woman, or two pairs for that one, and three pairs for this woman, and three pairs for that one. If he made them all above the red line, half of the mingled offerings are valid and half of them are invalid. If he made them all above the red line and half of the mingled offerings are valid and half of them invalid, If he made half of them above the red line, half below the red line, of those offerings which were made above the red line, half are valid and half are invalid. And of those offerings which were made below the red line, half are valid and half are invalid. If one woman has one pair of obligatory birds and another woman has two such pairs, and another woman has three such pairs, and another woman has 10 such pairs, and another woman has 100 pairs, if the Kohen made all of them above the red line, half of the mingled offerings are valid and half are invalid. If he made them all below the red line, half of the mingled offerings are valid, half of them are invalid. If he made half of them above the red line and half of them below the red line, the number of pairs in the largest group is valid. This is the rule. Every situation in which you can divide the pairs in a way that one woman's bird offerings will not be both above the red line and below the red line, then half of the mingled offerings are valid and half of them are invalid. And in any situation in which you cannot divide the pairs other than in a way that one woman's bird offerings will be both above the red line and both below the red line, then the number of pairs in the largest group is valid.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Let's see. One who lends his neighbor may not exact security from him except in court, nor may he enter his house to take a security. As it is said, you shall stand outside. If he has two utensils, he may take one and leave one. And if he must return the pillow by night and the plowshare by day. If he dies, he need not return it to the heirs. Reb Shimon Gamliel says, even to the debtor himself, he need only return it up to 30 days, and after 30 days he sells them in court. We may not exact security from a widow, and whether she be poor or rich, as it is said, and you shall not take as security the garment of a widow. One who takes a mill as security transgresses a negative commandment, and he is guilty of taking two utensils, as it is said, he shall not take a lower millstone or an upper millstone as security. They did not speak only of the lower millstone and the upper millstone, but of anything that with which food for human consumption is prepared, as it is said, and he takes a life as security. If a ground floor and an upper story belong to two different people collapse, the two of them divide the wood, the stones, the earth, and they determine which stones are likely to have been broken. If one of them recognizes some of his stones, he takes them, and have that combined for him in the reckoning. If a ground floor and an upper story belong to two people, and the upper story partially fell in, but the owner of the ground floor does not wish to make repairs, the occupant of the upper story may go and live downstairs until he repairs the upper story for him. But Yossi says the downstairs one supplies the ceiling, and the upstairs one the plaster. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, good. Oh. Gimel base. With three baskets of 3 saw each, they withdraw the truma from the funds in the treasury chamber. On them were written the Hebrew letters Aleph, Bet, Gimel. Reb Yishmael says the Greek letters Alpha, Beta, and Gamma were written on them. The one who withdraws the truma may not enter the treasury chamber wearing a hemmed garment nor a shoe or a sandal, nor with tefillin, nor with an amulet, lest he become poor, and people might say, because of the sin of stealing from the treasury chamber, he has become impoverished. Or lest he become rich, and people might say he has enriched himself with the truma of the treasury chamber. For a person must please people in the same manner that he must please the omnipresent. For it is said, and you shall be guiltless before Hashem and before Israel. And it is also said, and find favor and good understanding in the eyes of God and mankind. Each member of Rabbi Gamliel's household would enter the treasury chamber with his half shekel between his fingers and throw it before the one drawing the truma. The one drawing the truma would purposely push it into the basket, and the one making the withdrawal did not withdraw the truma until I withdraw the truma, and they replied to him, withdraw, withdraw, withdraw 3 times. After he made the first Truma withdrawal, he covered the remaining money with leather covers. After the second one, he covered the remaining money with leather covers. But after the third withdrawal, he did not cover the remaining money. The money is covered lest he forget, and withdraw from him an accumulation for which funds already have been withdrawn. He withdrew the first Truma on behalf of the inhabitants of Eretz Israel, the second on behalf of the inhabitants of the cities surrounding it, and the third on behalf of the inhabitants of Babylonia, Media, and the distant countries.
Okay, that's it.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Have a lovely
Now
wet
I will see
day.
you tomorrow. Have a great day. Yeah, wait, I hope it's not raining too much. That's going to be Shalim. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.